What's going on, everybody? This is the blockchain backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. And today we're taking a look at the cryptocurrency market from a broader perspective and from a unique angle. We'll look at a lot of charts on super big time frames to see what's going on in the cryptocurrency market. Of course, we'll talk about the price action that's been happening recently over here on the Bitcoin price chart and with the altcoin market. But the bulk of this video will be from a broader perspective look. As we all should know, Bitcoin's been holding this price level here for about a week. Nothing too crazy has happened in here, really just kind of a bounce off the lows and now right back to the middle again where we stayed here for like 5 or 6 days, and then now here we are back again at 42,200. I've been looking at this structure. We've spent a lot of time talking about this, but comparing it to this bearish time period that we had here back in 2018 and how similar this structure has been. Now that enough time has played out, we're starting to see kind of a structure start to show up in here. Now, picking out what can happen on the short-term time frames, especially in a bearish time period, can prove to be incredibly difficult. I presented lots of different things that are happening in here. My grand perspective of Bitcoin is that it is in a bear market, but we're looking for a big retrace to come in for Bitcoin at some point and to see what the altcoin market can do during that time, as we saw happen in 2017 and 2018. But now that a couple of days have played out, we can start to see the structures that are showing up on here on Bitcoin. And once again, it is starting to show a similar structure to what we saw happen back in 2018 during this whole time period. And we can see how he pulled back down into this low over in here. And then you just see these little single structures showing up in here that are looking very, very similar to what happened back then. So nothing is screaming to me that we're in some type of big reversal right now. We do know that high buy volume did show up right in here. However, the picture still isn't really clear on if the retracement has begun yet, or if there's still one more step down left in Bitcoin before a retracement can come back in. My anticipation is for the price of Bitcoin to reach back up into these levels, somewhere between $55,000 to $58,000 during a retrace, but we're all just patiently waiting for that time to come. The good news is, whether it's going to reverse from here, whether it's going to follow what we saw happen in previous bear structures for Bitcoin during bear markets, that time period isn't too far away, right? We're getting pretty close. I've essentially flipped on the bull horns at about 75%. But if we get that one move down a little bit lower, I'll go full-blown 100% bull. While I like to see that the price did bounce there at 39,558, which is an equivalent move of what we've seen happen with Bitcoin before. It's a 42 to 43% pull down before a retracement begins. This still just remains on my radar, and I can't ignore it because it looks so familiar to it, dating all the way back to here, back in early December. So it's still going to be a patience game over here on Bitcoin, and I'd love to tell you with 100% conviction on which one's going to happen. I love to come on here and have pure conviction on something, but when the picture's not clear, I'll tell you it's not clear. There's two things that have happened here. One, we've had this similar size pullback, precisely nailing the price level that was looked for. That would be equivalent of what typically happens for Bitcoin drawdowns before it goes into a retracement. Hey, that's optimistic, but structurally, the way this thing is setting up looks exactly like what this looked like. And in that circumstance, there was still another move down. So which one happens, we'll find out, but I'm showing both of them to you. In the end, the picture is still the same for me, regardless of where the reversal can come in at, is that I'm still just looking for a retracement to come in, whether that comes from a lower price level or an even lower price level, still looking for a retracement back to this area at some point. And the question begs, will we see the altcoin market do what we've seen it do before, in which when the top of Bitcoin bull runs come in, we see a big explosive rise for the altcoin market into the retracement. So that's where all my main focus on is, waiting to get back to that moment. And for me right now, I just have to sit patiently because there's, in my plan, in the way I'm operating in this market, there is literally nothing for me to do right now in regards to taking action on my portfolio with the way that I'm playing it until we get back to the retracement. So this question just comes of, is that retracement coming soon? Is it coming in a medium time frame? Is it coming in a longer time frame? And what will that retracement look like? Because there's nothing for me to do right now until we get back into the retracements. But one of the optimistic things that we see, Dogecoin's popping up. Elon Musk back in crypto again, I guess. Tesla merch buyable with Dogecoin. He's been quiet about cryptocurrencies for quite a while. And as we all know, he has shown up at pretty pivotal moments in this market where and the announcement of Tesla buying Bitcoin was made right in here, shooting the price up. The announcement of Tesla will not be accepting Bitcoin or Bitcoin is bad for the environment showed up right here. And then the B word with Cathie Wood, Jack Dorsey, and Elon Musk was right here. So we had a breakout, breakdown, reversal, all having Elon Musk involved at those times. And who can forget his infamous appearance on Saturday Night Live, which happened on May 8th and also happened to occur right at the 702 Fibonacci retracement for Bitcoin right in here. So we had the first initial fall happening in Bitcoin taking out this low, a retracement back to the 702. And what did we have? The return to normal excitement. Everything's going to explode. Everybody buy. Elon Musk is on Saturday Night Live. Happened exactly at the 702 retracement, which, we were covering at that time as it was happening that evening. So a good sign coming? We'll see. Either way, the thing that we noticed that happened there is as it went into the retracement there for Bitcoin and Elon Musk being on TV, what happened was sentiment. Extremely euphoric, extremely exciting. Everybody thinking we're going to the moon, right? That's the same type of behavior I'm going to be looking for as we head back into a retracement. So remember when I was warning about Bitcoin up in the $60,000, it felt like dozens of content creators posturing against it. Half of them have turned bearish now after Bitcoin has gotten into the lower 40s, but I would expect the same thing to occur again, feeding that excitement, feeding that euphoria, happening going into a retracement. And hopefully what we're seeing at that exact same time that is feeding into all of that excitement occurring is the altcoin market going absolutely nuts, because nothing creates extreme excitement like extreme gains. And so if you've been following this channel for any amount of time, we have spent some time looking at the inverse price chart of Bitcoin and looking at the structure. It's what got us through May, June, and July to remain with conviction that Bitcoin would recover and set a new all-time high. And we're not going to spend too much time looking at this structure here on this video, but we're going to take a bigger zoomed out approach on Bitcoin, and we're actually not even going to pay attention to any of that right there. And we're going to look at Bitcoin on a much bigger picture in here. As a matter of fact, let's go back even further in here and take a look at this. Now, there's a reason why I do this exercise for myself all the time, and it's to help remove my own biases. There is a reason why people buy tops, there is a reason why people sell bottoms, and it's from fear, and it's from greed, and it's from expectations that things are going to play out in a crazy way. But whenever you look at something upside down and the world is flipped all around and up is down and down is up, somehow, some way, it makes it a little bit easier to do analytical approaches to it, technical analysis on it, to see things that you otherwise wouldn't have seen from the opposite direction. An example of that would be like if we look at Bitcoin on the monthly time frame and we flip everything upside down, right? And say you wanted to be a bull on Bitcoin. You're like, man, I really want to buy it. It's low, it's cheap. I want to buy. What are the things that we see here on the monthly time frame? We could see that the MACD is about to cross after everything has been super oversold. And we could see this big bullish divergence showing up right in here, right? That the sellers are getting weaker, but price still dipped down even lower. And this thing's way down here. And look at it on the monthly time frame, it's about to cross. So like on a monthly time frame, this would be awesome, right? It looks like it's getting super bullish. It looks like it's ready to rock. That looks awesome. The problem is this is all inverse. This is all upside down. So for being a bull, I could see the argument, right? Boom, look at this massive bullish divergence showing up in here after being super mega oversold, and that the price dipped down even lower on reduced strength. And it was barely able to get any lower at that. And look at this cross about to come in here on the MACD. Like this thing looks mega bullish, right? Problem is this is inverse. We flip it back to normal scale to see what it actually looks like, and we can see that it's the opposite is true for Bitcoin, right? We see the massive bearish divergence, barely setting a new high, and we're about to have the MACD cross over to the downside on a monthly time frame. So while in our hearts, we want the price to go up, if you were a bull and the chart looked like this, man, it would sure be looking super optimistic right now. But we know that this isn't the case. It's the opposite direction, and that it actually looks like this right now. And so if I'm having biases, or if I have to check myself and make sure that I'm not having extreme biases, I'll flip things upside down and say, what would my thoughts be if I was looking at this from the opposite direction? And if I was looking at Bitcoin from the opposite direction, which bias would I have? My bias would be that there's a bullish divergence that's going to continue sending Bitcoin in a long-term monthly trajectory back in that direction, do the bullish divergence showing up in here and the MACD cross that's about to happen. That's what my bias would be. In most circumstances, this is where I'd come in and be a buyer in here. But since I know that it's not the case, that's the inverse perspective. And when we flip it back to standard perspective, we can see the opposite is true, that these are all massive bearish divergences happening over here on Bitcoin. So that's the things that I look at, and why I do this exercise is to make sure that I'm not having too extreme biases of one way or the other. And I said to myself, if I was doing technical analysis on this chart from the other direction, would my thoughts be different? Would I be sitting there thinking prices are going to go up when I'm looking at a chart upside down? And does that mean prices would actually go down instead? So it's a fun exercise to do. You can either type in 1 minus Bitcoin USD, or you can click on the cog wheel down in here and go to invert scale. But either way, we'll look at Bitcoin right here from the last 8 years. So this dates back to 2013, 2014 to current times. We could see how this big fall or rise in Bitcoin actually ended up happening, since we're looking at it inverse. And we could see that the 2018 bear market pulled back to the height of wave 4. After the breakout occurred from the 2013 top, we could see we had 5 waves coming up in here. This was the last major correction that happened for Bitcoin before it went into its parabolic blow off top. Again, we'll flip that back in this direction. You could see that we had big corrections that happened in the summer and in the fall, and then it was essentially a straight line up to the end. And that our bear market pulled back down to the base of that wave 4 to conclude the bear market for Bitcoin. And what's quite interesting about this is if we look at the whole bear market that took place here, and I'll put us back on standard scale again so you could see it, how we had a channel that we were in. We broke out from the channel, and the big C19 sell-off took us back to backtest the top of that channel before it went off into a bull run. Flip it back upside down, and you could see that once again, that we had the big monster 70% fall that came in February. A year of sideways capitulation to the bottom of the channel, breaking out, and then a big massive back test of it, and then off into a bull run we went. But what are the things that we see that happened in here, right? We saw a pull back down to the base of wave 4, then a breakout of the channel, and a big back test of the channel, long consolidation, then finally it broke out and went. And so props to Ape Season over here on Twitter for pointing this out, that if we look at XRP from the inverse perspective, we have the same thing going on here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The bear market of 2018, 2019 pulls back into wave 4. And what do we have going on here? We have this teetering action happening over here for XRP on the inverse perspective, in which we're all used to looking at it from this perspective right here. But we look at it like this, and we see similar things happening that also happened for Bitcoin. And that XRP has not broken out into its all-time high at this point, but there are things that are happening for XRP in here that were very similar to what were happening for Bitcoin before it went on its really big run. Pulled back to wave 4, big breakout of the channel that happened right here. You could see the big massive breakout and a big old pullback to back test the channel once again, as we saw happen over there on Bitcoin. And so we can flip these things back to standard perspective to get an idea. We could see the bottom of the channel getting hit. We could see the breakout of the channel after finding resistance on it. And we see the back test of the channel. And we know that's something very similar that happened to Bitcoin in regards to a pull down depth and then breaking out, back testing, and then still some sideways consolidation that took place in here, but eventually leading out to a near 4.236 extension, which a near 4.236 extension for XRP is going to be up there around $10 to $13 if it were to do something similar to what Bitcoin did. But this isn't just true for XRP. This is actually true for a lot of the coins that are out there in the market. While we all focus on the new hyped speculative run cryptocurrencies that have showed up in the last year and a half or so, or the select few that have run in this market, the vast majority of coins still haven't gone on a big run. They all have this similar type of thing going on, whether we're talking about Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Tron, Stellar, Monero, IOTA, EOS, Zcash, Neo, Basic Attention Token, Dash, or Decred, right? All these things still not on these big, massive bull runs yet. Big names, right? not just XRP. But there's something very interesting going on here, right? We see that with Bitcoin, we hit the channel bottom twice. It went through it, broke through it. It had to backtest the channel. Then it consolidated sideways for quite a while before finally going off onto the big run for the full extension. And we see that happening over here on XRP. Hits the bottom of the channel twice. Where does it hit it at? It hits it at the bottom of wave 4 back over here. Breaks out, backtests, and then now what are we doing? And I appreciate Ape Season over there on Twitter pointing that out. Hey, look, we have the 5 waves. The bottom of the bear market came in to hit the bottom of wave 4. Where are we at right now? These are things that we talk about on this channel all the time. And what we know about this structure when we come back to test the base of wave 4 is that this thing can stall out in here for a while before the big breakdown eventually ends up happening. Even with Bitcoin in here on the structure we've been monitoring all year long, it's been the same thing. It rolled back up to wave 4 within wave 5. Then what happened? Look at the stall out that happened here before the bigger break ended up happening. And when we really flip that thing upside down and we start saying, hey, have we seen that other places in the market? Yeah, it's exactly what Bitcoin was doing before it went on to its big bull run. And in the cases of where we come back and hit the base of wave 4, we go on and we set a new high, which of course, take it off the inverse, that's where you head. And we know that's what Bitcoin did as well. And so, while Bitcoin's market cap has gone on to hit a 4.236 extension, and Ethereum's market cap has gone on to hit a 4.236 extension, this market is still screaming to me that there's going to be this breakdown happen over here in the Bitcoin and Ethereum dominance like we saw happen back in 2017 that paves the way for the rest of the altcoin market to take off. And that while looking at XRP's price chart, feeling like it's just going sideways for forever and that there's no real rhyme or reason to any of the things that are happening in here. When we spend the time to look at things from inverse perspectives and look at waves and base of wave 4 within wave 5 that typically leads to another wave and looking at channels and everything and understanding what this market has done before, there suddenly becomes a rhyme and a reason to the things that are appearing to happen here in this market. And if this structure does turn out to be similar to what happens in Bitcoin, it also indicates the same thing, that there's still this big run coming in here for the altcoin market, and in particular for XRP. And the thing that we know about XRP's bull runs is that they've never happened by themselves. They've always happened in the midst of the entire market moving up together. And so while we see something happening there for XRP or in regards to a structure, there hasn't been a circumstance where XRP went off on its own. And that each time it's had a major bull run, it's been with the remainder of the market. And that even as late as 2021, the big move in XRP also occurred with the rest of the market. And while I can already gauge what a lot of the comments will be like in the comments of this video, Jeremy Hogan released a video yesterday talking about kind of the timeline of the Ripple and SEC lawsuit. You know, there's been a new delay added in. Discovery has gone on a little bit longer. Expert witness discovery. Jeremy puts his time target somewhere around September or October when the whole case can be completely over with, barring there isn't a situation where the SEC feels backed into a corner where they could lose more than what they're willing to lose. Obviously, the SEC doesn't want to push this so far that they lose a lot of their power, right? So Ripple's got to do a good enough job to get the SEC to want to give a fair type of settlement, because the last thing I think that they would want is for Ripple to succeed at fair notice, or else every cryptocurrency project will be able to use that. So I have no way to predict how long this case will take or if the market is waiting for the case to wrap up. But what I do know is that Bitcoin is not in its retracement yet. It's not at the conditions that we saw back in 2017 and 2018 to indicate that everything was gloom and doom for the altcoins yet. So since I can't see what's going on behind closed doors at the SEC or with Ripple, I have no way to know how that thing will actually end up ending. But what I can look at are things that have happened in this market before. And what I see is that Bitcoin has not done a retracement yet, like we saw in previous bull runs where the whole altcoin market goes on a run. And what I see is that XRP is set up precisely as Bitcoin was before Bitcoin went on its big run just last year. So for that, I remain patient and I remain optimistic, waiting for Bitcoin to start its retrace and tell the story of the altcoin market, while the Bitcoin and Ethereum dominance appear to be hanging on by a thread. And on that note, we'll wrap this thing up. So I hope that you have an absolutely wonderful weekend. I want to thank you so much for watching. You can catch me over there on Twitter throughout the weekend, but I'll go ahead and wrap this thing up. So if you're looking for something to do throughout the weekend, of course, you could check out my website over here, bcbacker.com. As I always mention, this is a course that I put together where I deep dive into the previous Bitcoin bull runs, the previous altcoin market cycles, tying them all together to show how the cryptocurrency market has worked in the past. Structured a lot like my YouTube channel. It's me with videos and looking at charts. It's not PowerPoint presentations or something like that. I try to keep it with my same unique perspective that I have here on the YouTube channel. I talk a lot about my exit plans in here. I teach you how to set up your own charts and your own indicators within TradingView and CoinTrader Pro so you can do your own charting. I did recently add some updates in there on the exit plans for Ethereum and the blockchain backer. And then the most recent market update is in there on December 31st. And you can check out all of this educational content over here on bcbacker.com. You can follow me over here on Twitter at bcbacker, and I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you could be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.